Picture this: a world still healing from the wounds of World War II, suddenly teetering on the brink of a third. The year is 1950, and on a peninsula few Westerners could find on a map, a conflict erupts that will redefine the next 40 years of global history. This wasn't just a regional dispute. This was the first hot war of the Cold War, a brutal 3-year struggle often overshadowed by other conflicts, yet its consequences echo to this very day. This is the story of the Korean War, often called the Forgotten War. It all began on June 25, 1950, when North Korean forces, backed by the Soviet Union, stormed across the 38th parallel, the artificial line dividing the Korean peninsula. Their goal was swift and total reunification under communist rule. The world watched in shock. The newly formed United Nations faced its first major test. Would it stand by and watch a sovereign nation be overrun, or would it act? In a historic move, the UN, led by the United States, authorized a multinational force to defend South Korea. Troops from over a dozen countries, including the US, Britain, Canada, and Australia, were rushed to the front lines. The initial weeks were disastrous. The unprepared South Korean and American forces were pushed back into a tiny pocket of land around the port city of Busan. Defeat seemed imminent. But then came the turning point. A daring and brilliant amphibious assault at Incheon, hundreds of miles behind enemy lines. Masterminded by General Douglas MacArthur, the landing was a massive gamble that paid off spectacularly. It cut North Korean supply lines and forced a full-scale retreat. UN forces surged north, crossing the 38th parallel and pushing all the way to the Yalu River, the border with China. Victory seemed within grasp, but another giant was watching. China, now a communist state under Mao Zedong, saw the UN advance as a direct threat. In late 1950, hundreds of thousands of Chinese volunteer soldiers poured across the border, launching a massive surprise attack that sent the UN forces reeling back south in a brutal winter retreat. The war had entered a bloody new phase. What started as a police action was now a brutal, grinding war of attrition, with battles fought for control of frozen hills and desolate valleys. After 2 more years of devastating fighting, a stalemate developed roughly along the original 38th parallel. Finally, in July 1953, an armistice was signed, but not a peace treaty. The war was paused, not ended. Millions had lost their lives, and the Korean peninsula was left scarred and permanently divided. This forgotten war solidified the battle lines of the Cold War, massively increased U.S. military spending, and set the precedent for superpower proxy wars around the globe. It's a conflict whose legacy is the tense, heavily fortified border that still divides North and South Korea today. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. See you next time.